The Kinabatangan, one of the wildest river systems on the planet. Flowing through magical landscapes from steamy jungle highlands, through otherworldly floodplains, to its ultimate destination, the vibrant Sulu Sea. Along its course, the astonishing is commonplace. This is home to the exquisite, the bizarre, and the rare. A land in which ancient cultures coexist with prehistoric predators. Where new species are discovered almost daily. This is a wild frontier that is changing fast. The fate of this mighty waterway hangs in the balance, and those who champion its cause are striving to preserve all that is unique about the Amazon of the East. Before entering the vibrant Sulu Sea, the Kinabatangan River passes through the mangrove forests. These are the vast Sagama wetlands, housing one of the highest concentrations of primate species on the planet. It's a newly declared conservation area of international significance. It abounds in wildlife, but it is also awash with the presence of man. Times here are uncertain. There are people here who strive to balance the needs of ecology and economic development, and others who struggle simply to keep up with the times. Some are forming new relationships with man's closest living relative. For others, old scores with ancient rivals remain unsettled. All of this lies ahead on the final stage of this most epic journey. As the Kinabatangan River meanders through the easternmost reaches of the lowland floodplains, one creature, perhaps the most complex of all, becomes more abundant. Man. The Orang Sungai, or people of the river, are the traditional custodians of the Kinabatangan, keenly aware of the subtle ebbs and flows of life along its banks. The most populous village along the Kinabatangan is Sukau. Historically a fishing village, but now transformed into a thriving hub of industry. First for timber, more recently as a centre for agriculture. And it is agriculture, chiefly palm oil production, that is changing the face of the region. But a brake is being put on the spread of these industries by the appeal of the unspoilt Kinabatangan to a blossoming tourist trade. The staggering diversity and unique character of the wildlife that inhabits this part of the river attracts people from all over the world. Just as it originally drew wildlife photographer Ced Pridente to the region some 20 years ago, since when he has been a pioneer of conservation and ecotourism in the area. Whilst he appreciates the positive impact that tourism has had, he believes more needs to be done to preserve the priceless natural environment. Although not born along its banks, Ced has been a passionate advocate of the river for most of his life.
I like Kinabatangan River a lot. This is where I learn about nature and how beautiful nature is, and
I think the most important in conservation is making it economically viable. Otherwise, the people don't benefit, the animals don't benefit. The future generation will really depend on what we're doing now.
By documenting the extraordinary wildlife to be found along the Kinabatangan, SED hopes to raise awareness of not only the challenges that face the unique wildlife to be found here, but also those that confront the people of the river.
I feel the Orang Sungai are the true guardians of the river, the true guardians of the forest and the animals around it. Conservationists has to work with the government, has to work with the local people and the palm oil producers. Without concerted synergy or collaboration between the different stakeholders, the Kinabatangan region will die.
For Rizal and his young family, this is simply part of the daily reality on this remote frontier where times are changing. If the people of the river are to remain relevant in the modern world, they must adapt, and balancing the old and new worlds is an ongoing challenge. As Rizal and SED set off on the last leg of their journey, they must say their goodbyes. Before entering the Sagama wetlands, SED wants to visit an old friend, one whose knowledge of this river is unrivaled. Meet master boat builder and fisherman Pati Asa. A village elder, as a younger man, Asa worked in the timber and palm oil industries before helping pioneer ecotourism in the Kinabatangan floodplains. SED and Asa are old friends.
I met Pachi Asa more than 20 years ago here on this Kinabatangan. This is quite a meaningful place for me.
Apa kabar, Cik?
Bagus deh. Lama
Kalilah.
tidak jumpa.
Lama tidak jumpa. Besar sudah kan?
Ya, besar sudah. Untuk pun sudah besar-besar sudah.
SED first met Asa in the 1980s. In the years since, they have pioneered the tourism industry in Sukau.
Arsa was one of the first guys who took me around here, and now I've learned so much about this place. So it's quite an emotional visit.
From its meagre beginnings, ecotourism has grown to become one of the most significant industries in the region, generating income that not only helps to support the local economy, but also offers some protection to the surrounding wilderness.
Ini, kau masih bawa pelancong, menangkap ikan. Kita jual ke ini ikan atau untuk sendiri?
Kalau banyak saya jual, tapi sedikit aja begini mana boleh jual. Jadi terpaksa pakai sendirilah. Sekarang ini kurang, udang pun kurang, ikan pun kurang sebab ini banyak sudah orang menangkap, lebih sudah diorang jual. Susahlah. Apa boleh buat? Itulah kekurangan. Diorang punya alat-alat menangkap itu pakai siut begini, surung pakai injin.
It is stories such as the one that Asa tells that have driven SED to act. Taking leave of his old friend, SED continues his onward journey, hoping that his new book can play a small role in protecting this fragile environment and those, like Asa, who depend upon it for survival.
Allah,
Diulang lagi nih.
As for Asa, he must return to his home with the morning catch. Asa lives on the outskirts of Sukau village. His family is a large one. 7 children, 26 grandchildren, and 13 great-grandchildren. Asa primarily supports his family in traditional ways, such as fishing, supplementing his income by working as a part-time tour guide. Of the entire clan, only one of the grandchildren, Jidan, is interested in learning the traditional ways. As they bring in the morning's catch, Jidan's grandmother begins preparation of their midday meal, while Asa and his grandson attend to their chores. Jidan relishes the time he spends with his grandfather.
Saya suka ikut dato saya Arsa. Dia telah memberi tunjuk ajar kepada saya.
Jidan, kau ambil gunting sana, Jidan.
Dia membawa saya merambat, memasang pukat, memasang bubuk, dan dia mengajar saya membuat perahu.
Asa's mastery of this tradition supports his family.
Pencarian yang pertama kali bagi orang sungai, bikin perahu. Tangkap ikan, merambat, macam-macam pencarian boleh dibawa sama ini perahu.
For a people like Asa, whose life is so intrinsically tied to the waters of the Kinabatangan, the boat is not only the cornerstone of the Orang Sungai's heritage, but of their survival.
Saya rasa paling penting ini perahu. Jadi kalau saya sudah mati, saya kasih ganti ini aku punya cucu. Jadi kalau kita buang itu, tidak ada sudah yang boleh mengganti, itulah aku ajar ini. Jadi syukur aku, dia orang dapat juga sikit-sikit.
The attention of the youngest generation of his family may have been captured by modern ways and bright city lights, but Asa hopes that his cherished traditional ways will live on in Jidan, the youngest and keenest of pupils.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma barik lana fima razaqtana wa qina azabannar. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
While traditions can be passed from grandfather to son to grandson, the ailing culture of Orang Sungai will survive. The struggle to remain relevant along this mighty river system is not just about the Orang Sungai. It is about an ancient land in a 21st century world. Currently in Sabah, the per hectare income of a palm oil plantation is 50 times greater than that of an equivalent area of native forest. This huge disparity in capital value is the single greatest threat facing the natural world here. Over 90% of the land devoted to palm oil production is in Malaysia and Indonesia, a large proportion of it on the island of Borneo. Palm oil is the world's cheapest vegetable oil, and demand for it is forecast to skyrocket over the next decade. It is an imminent and very real threat to the entire ecosystem, and the tireless work of many in Sukau is aimed at achieving a viable balance. This is Rajak, the beneficiary of an alliance between the village of Sukau and a not-for-profit conservation organisation known as Hutan.
Kehadiran hutan ini pun memang tetap disenangi oleh kepimpinan di sini. Lihat dengan jelas sekali bahwa sebab adanya flora dan fauna kita yang masih terjaga melalui konservasi itu. Pelancongan yang dari luar itu tanpa hutan mungkin Sukau itu akan lebih dimonopolikan terlebih kepada yang perkembangan sawit.
Present in the village since 1996, Hutan, for which Rajak works, has taken a holistic approach to ensuring both ecological and economic stability in the region. Today, Rajak is joining French biologist and Hutan founder Marc Ancrenaz to conduct a census on an endangered, nest-building forest dweller high on Hutan's list of priorities. But first, they have to find it. Perhaps this is the best known of all of Borneo's splendid species. This is the orang-utan. Orang-utan literally means people of the forest. They are highly intelligent great apes, sharing more than 95% of our DNA, which makes them one of our closest living relatives.
Orangutan is an endangered species, and the numbers in the wild are declining.
Dedicated to fostering mutual coexistence between man and ape, Hutan employs over 50 locals, which makes the organisation the largest employer in the area.
Here at Hutan, we have a team of researchers entering the study site, looking for orangutans. We follow them, we take data about their home range, their feeding behavior, social activities, their location in the forest. We want to identify what are the key resources they need to survive in this kind of habitat.
The team is tracking a particular orang-utan pair which they have been studying.
Today we are following two orangutans, Juliana, the mother, and her young Felicity. 20 years of research shows that the orangutan can really survive in this type of habitat. But the question is, can people and orangutan live together? If we want to address this issue, we really need to look at the bigger picture, to have a holistic approach.
Male orangutans tend to be solitary, but youngsters like Felicity spend the first 10 years of their lives with their mothers.
Felicity just built her nest for the morning nap. Maybe she will stay there for 1 hour and then she will look for food. Felicity's mother, Juliana, is also sleeping. She's about 20 meters away. But we cannot see her. This is a problem with orangutan. Very difficult to spot in the canopy. Hopefully we won't lose her.
With Juliana out of sight, the team has to split up to ensure it can accurately record the movements and behaviour of both orangutans. Marc and Rajak set off to locate Felicity's missing mother. This is where Rajak comes into his own.
Dalam konservasi ini, saya sudah terlibat sama 12 tahun dalam konservasi. Saya memang bekerja untuk dapat sumber untuk kehidupan saya dan juga keluarga. So, saya memang berminat dalam kerja-kerja ini, terutama dalam konservasi. Pada saya memang satu-satunya yang saya minat.
From a forestry background, his knowledge of indigenous plants and animals has made him invaluable to the team.
Inilah buah dia, tapi dia akan makan yang biji.
This is the fruit the orangutan is eating. Here we have the skin. Inside this fruit there is a seed. And the orangutan is cracking it open, eating the flesh of the fruit and spitting the seed. The orangutan eats more than 650 species of plants. In our study site only, you realize that we need specialists. We need people who can identify these plant species. This is what Rajak does the best.
Rajak's tracking skills do not disappoint.
Di situ di atas, sebelah atas sedikit. Lebih kurang 7-8 meter dari ibu.
She's up there in this tree. The orangutan has been described as being the gardener of the forest because of his big size and the huge quantities of fruits he's eating. He helps the seeds to be disseminated.
Having eaten her fill, Juliana soon heads back through the trees to find her daughter Felicity. Education, employment and increased tourism have been key results of the grassroots conservation movement started by Marc Ancrenez. By protecting orangutans and their remaining forest habitat, Hutan is fostering an almost symbiotic relationship between the villagers and the great apes.
Orangutan depend on the work we are doing because when we are in the forest is protected de facto. But at the same time, we also depend from the orangutan because they provide us a platform to work. These 50 people working with us are all paid because we are protecting orangutans. At the same time, people from all over the world, they want to come and see orangutans in the wild. So it's a terrific asset we have in Kinabatangan.
An asset that Rajak has come to love.
Jadi kita rasa bangga dan bertuah lah karena di dalam ada orangutan ini. Saya memang mempertahankan orangutan, memang anak-anak saya generasi akan datang masih boleh nampak kazana-kazana itu baik flora dan fauna ini dan juga hewan-hewan yang ada di dalam Kinabatangan kita yang masih terjaga melalui konservasi itu.
In the face of unprecedented change, the villagers of Sukau, with the support of Hutan and local government agencies, have managed to establish the basis of a promising green economy which, if managed correctly, will ensure a prosperous future for the people and for the wildlife. Continuing its journey ever eastwards towards the Sulu Sea, the Kinabatangan approaches the mangrove forests and peat swamps of the coastal regions. Sed's epic journey is almost at an end. Ultimately, it's the beginning of a much grander endeavour. Working alongside like-minded groups and government agencies, there is much to be done in the name of conservation. It's a race against the clock to preserve the most vulnerable of species. It's here in these brackish waters that an ancient and ongoing quest for dominance unfolds between man and his most feared rival, the saltwater crocodile. Growing up to 6 meters in length, it is the largest of all living reptiles. The saltwater crocodile is a formidable ambush predator, capable of taking any animal that enters its domain. Fish, birds, large mammals, even man. Perhaps that is why the relationship between man and crocodiles has never been an easy one. Here in Sabah, due to their perceived menace and to the value of their skin, the saltwater crocodile was hunted to the brink of extinction. Fearing the loss of this magnificent predator, a timely and concerted effort led by local government and conservation groups has resurrected the species. Healthy numbers now exist in a number of regions along the Kinabatangan. The ecological and economic benefits of conservation efforts upstream are quite tangible, but in these parts, conservation occasionally exacts a very high price. In the last 15 years, there have been 25 crocodile attacks along the river. 17 have been fatal. With a view to reducing the frequency of these attacks, British-born PhD student Luke Evans has teamed up with conservation group DGFC in order to better understand the ecology of the saltwater crocodile.
The ultimate goal of the study would be to eradicate any human attacks and maintain a healthy population of crocodiles here, which is historically very difficult with predators that come into conflict with humans. It's one of the major challenges facing conservation today.
The team is setting out to trap a large croc so that it can be tagged with a satellite collar, allowing its movements to be tracked.
Really what we want is somewhere where the water's not flowing too much. Actually over here, you've got the natural barrier there and a couple of trees overhanging to tie to. We've got a couple of nice basking sites around as well so we want to look at where crocodiles are going and when they're going there. And so we can look at data over a long time period and use that to work out when crocs are most active, where they're most active, and we can even relate that back into when people are most likely to be attacked.
The team will need to move quickly in these crocodile-infested waters. A saltwater croc is capable of growing up to 6 meters and can lunge half its body length out of the water.
1, 2, 3.
So Luke and his crew are well within striking range.
What we want to do is adjust the rope so that it's sitting nicely in a nice direction. Then we'll bait it. So this is the bait that we're using. It's chicken intestines. It's incredibly smelly. It's kind of a case of the smellier the better for these guys.
Crocodiles have a highly developed sense of smell. With the bait now in the water, crocodiles are sure to start inspecting the trap.
It's a steel mesh trap with a simple pin trigger system. So basically what we have is bait attached by a rope, threaded along to the trigger mechanism, and a pin which is threaded underneath the door. So any pressure on the bait itself pulls the trigger out of the door and the door falls down. We just cover it over with some vegetation just to make sure any croc that we catch, it has shade and it doesn't overheat. They're much more likely and much more inclined to go into an enclosed area where they feel safe.
With the trap set and baited, it's now a waiting game. The team will return in the morning to see if they have been successful. Things have gone to plan. Inside the trap is a 4-meter saltwater crocodile. To tag it, the team has to get close, very close.
So what we're doing is we're just going to fit a couple of top jaw ropes so we have some control of the animal before we even open the door. So then we know that everyone's going to be safe, the animal's going to be safe.
A croc of this size can weigh up to half a ton, and it's quick to show off its death roll.
They often use death rolling to tear chunks of meat off their prey. Now they also do it as a defense mechanism, so if they've been captured, then they'll death roll to try and get free.
With the jaw lassoed, it takes 5 men to hold the croc down so that the jaw can be wrapped with strong tape, neutralizing the fearsome teeth.
You've got to make sure that you respect the power of these animals and the fact that a 5-meter croc could easily get everybody involved.
With the croc safely secured, it's time to attach the collar.
So we're going to drill through these 4 scoots and thread plastic-coated steel wire through, and then the collar will sit on here. 55.4.
Like this or like this? From this?
Yeah, it's going very well. She hasn't been too distressed, which is good. We managed to get the work done in a pretty decent time. So yeah, I'm very happy. We really want to try and protect this environment, both for the people who live here, but also for the crocs. And usually the best way to do that is to create some sort of economic incentive for the crocodiles to be there. It's really difficult when you get a rising population of any predator, whether it be tigers or whether it be leopards or crocodiles. We really need to find a way for people to coexist with them. If you remove a big apex predator like that from this ecosystem, it can have terrible effects on the rest of the animals. If you lose that, you lose a big part of what this river is.
The lowland floodplain of the Kinabatangan is one of the few places on Earth in which 10 species of primate may be found. Orangutan, gibbon, red and silver leaf monkeys, various species of langur and macaques are all represented here. This incredible diversity of primate species is supported by an abundant variety of fruiting trees which provide food throughout the year. Perhaps the most bizarre looking of all the primates to be found here is the proboscis monkey. With their huge bulbous noses and pot bellies, they truly are genetic oddities. The diet of the proboscis monkeys consists mainly of leaves, seeds and unripened fruit. To digest it, they have evolved complex chambered stomachs that rely on a host of symbiotic bacteria. They never stray far from the life-giving Kinabatangan, and each night return to roost in the trees along its banks. It is this behaviour that makes a wildlife photographer's job just that little bit easier. Gliding silently along the river, Rizal spots movement in the trees. A troop of proboscis monkeys usually consists of a large number of females and their offspring, led by a single dominant male.
This is a harem group. 1 male, 2 to 15 females, and about 30 individuals. It's challenging for the male because there is a bachelor group that challenges the dominant male all the time. It's a pretty tough life for the dominant male.
Competing male proboscis monkeys do not fight physically. They prove their dominance through acrobatic displays. This is what Said has travelled to see. The acrobatic displays are nothing if not photogenic, exhibiting impressive feats and emitting curious sounds projected through their large bulbous noses.
These guys are like flying monkeys. See, that's the shot, the jumping male, or a side profile, or, aggression. Even just sitting and relaxing, watching all the females, watching all his dynasty and his kingdom.
That is quite a nice shot.
Like most of Borneo's unique wildlife, proboscis monkeys are suffering in the face of increased agricultural development and habitat loss. With just 7,000 of these amazing creatures left in the wild, the proboscis monkey has the unwelcome distinction of being rated as more endangered than the orangutan, a plight Said is determined to highlight in his new book.
I think as a photographer, we are sort of the ambassador for these animals, and we showcase about their lives, their habitat, and it is so important to show to the world that they exist, and pictures make 1,000 words.
Entering the final stage of their journey, Said and Rizal leave the floodplains and move into the vast network of coastal wetlands that border the Sulu Sea. Dominated by mangrove forests and peat swamps, these wetlands play a vital role in settling the sediments and organic loads carried by the river. They contribute greatly to carbon sequestration. Inhabiting the region for more than 70 million years, the prolific Nipa palms are the only palm tree in the world that has adapted to life in mangroves. Their tough fronds and roots form a natural barrier against typhoons and waves, preventing erosion and maintaining the critical balance that makes these wetlands such a rich nursery of life. So rich that the Sagama wetlands, an area of international importance, have recently been designated as a Ramsar-accredited conservation site. It has been estimated that almost 80% of global fish stocks are directly or indirectly dependent on mangroves. The implementation of a green economy will play an important role in the correct management of this vital resource. One such fish is the world's largest and most endangered parrotfish, the bumphead parrotfish. Within the relative safety of these shallow waters, juvenile bumphead parrotfish are able to reach maturity before returning to the Sulu Sea. An important source of food, the loss of these mangrove species would have devastating economic and environmental consequences for coastal communities. For Malaysia's largest Ramsar site, the journey to sustainable development is just beginning. For Said and Rizal, the epic journey down the Kinabatangan is coming to an end. 560 kilometers from Imbak Falls, from where they set out, Said and Rizal have come to the end of their odyssey.
We're almost at the end of our journey. From Imbak Canyon down to the lowlands, to the riverine forest, now into the open sea, the mangroves. What an incredible journey.
As the first photographer to ever document the mighty Kinabatangan from source to sea, Said's new book will not only be a permanent record of their achievement, but a testament to the wild majesty of this untamed region.
I'm amazed to see how one river can give so many faces and interpretations of life.
Many of these species are endemic to Borneo and they can be found nowhere else.
I hope this book will help to preserve this unique environment.
Growth and decay, wet and dry, perpetual change has been at the heart of the Kinabatangan for millions of years. The key to the river's survival has been its capacity to adapt.
The Kinabatangan is just so vibrant, from the coastline to the swamps and to the upper stream. There has to be a balance of economy and ecology. There should be a concerted effort between the politicians, the conservationists, and the local people, because extinction is forever. There's a big danger of losing our key species like the orangutans and elephants. They may disappear in the next generation.
As long as there are people prepared to rise to meet these challenges, there is hope that this mighty river system and its wild inhabitants will endure.
With the current conservation work and our forest status, it's not too late to save whatever's left. And as a photographer, I will be an ambassador of the Kinabatangan to ensure that this place is preserved.
As it collides with the coastline, the mighty Kinabatangan River flows into the Sulu Sea and the glorious Coral Triangle. This water that has travelled so far is about to begin the journey all over again. In this warm tropical sea, the sun evaporates the water, which rises as vapour, forming clouds which travel back towards the mountains, which force them higher, cooling them so that they fall as rain. Rain which once more swells the many rivulets and streams that flow over Imbak Falls and into the Amazon of the East.